Imagine a world where battles are not fought with weapons, but with stories, images, and sounds. Where control does not come from prisons or tanks, but from the screens you watch every day. The invisible war that will define the future is already underway. Silent, subtle, and powerful. Movies, series, and music are not just entertainment. They are tools that shape your mind, your beliefs, and even your identity. But who is behind this dark theater? And what is the true cost of this cultural programming? Prepare to dive into a plot where reality and fiction blur, and where the future of humanity may be written without you even noticing. Imagine waking up in a world where the past no longer exists. Not because it's forgotten, but because it's been erased. There are no countries, no religions, no history books, only a single global authority with one flag, one language, one ideology. It's called unity. But behind this flawless facade lies a brutal truth. Freedom has been sacrificed for order. People who question the system vanish without a trace, dismissed as deniers. No one speaks of the time before the event. In fact, no one even remembers it. The few who do are either silenced or driven mad by the weight of their memories. In this new reality, the very concept of identity is reconstructed. Every individual is assigned a role, a belief system, a purpose, all designed by algorithms far beyond public understanding. Families no longer exist. Children are raised by the state, educated to believe that the world was always this way. There are no old photographs, no ancestral stories, no cultural heritage. History begins with the event, and anything before that is treated as myth, conspiracy, or delusion. But the most disturbing aspect isn't what's missing, it's how normal it all feels. As if everyone had been programmed to accept it. The architecture of this new order is sterile and efficient. Cities are silent, optimized, and monitored. Surveillance drones replace streetlights. Every action, every word, even every emotion is recorded and assessed. If you laugh too loudly, if you cry without reason, if you ask the wrong question, your behavior is flagged. Social conformity is not encouraged, it's mandatory. People smile, but their eyes are empty. They speak, but only in rehearsed phrases. The illusion of peace masks a psychological cage where no one is free, and no one even knows they're imprisoned. And yet, something feels off. There are cracks in the system, whispers in dark alleys, symbols carved into forgotten walls, disjointed fragments in dreams. Some claim to remember things they were never taught, cities that no longer exist, songs from an era no one recalls, names that vanish from the databases. These anomalies are dismissed as glitches, mental disorders, or fabricated memories. But others believe they are echoes from a time before the reset, a time deliberately buried, a forbidden truth so dangerous, it had to be deleted from reality itself. The term Project Blue Beam is strictly prohibited. To speak it is to disappear. But those who remember it believe it's connected to everything. The sky, the silence, the system. A massive psychological operation so advanced that it rewrote human consciousness on a planetary scale. The event was not a war. It was not a plague. It was something far more sophisticated. A performance. A simulation. A spiritual and technological coup that reshaped reality itself. And no one noticed, because that was part of the design. But who would have the power to engineer such an operation? And more importantly, who would dare to reveal it? The answer begins with a name long erased from official records. A journalist whose words became a threat to the most powerful forces on Earth. A man called Serge Monast. In 1994, Canadian investigative journalist Serge Monast released a document that would become the cornerstone of one of the most unsettling modern conspiracies, Project Blue Beam. Monast claimed that a powerful global elite, operating through the United Nations and NASA, was preparing to execute a psychological and technological takeover of humanity. This would not be a conventional war. It would be a war on perception, on faith, on memory itself. According to Monast, this operation would dismantle all religious beliefs and replace them with a new, universal ideology. An artificial messiah. A staged second coming. all powered by advanced holography and electromagnetic control. What he proposed was so outrageous, so precise, and so complete that many dismissed it as delusion. But what if it wasn't? Monas didn't just speculate, he outlined a detailed four-phase plan. Phase 1. Artificial earthquakes to discover falsified ancient texts meant to discredit existing religions. Phase 2. Massive holographic projections of religious figures in the skies, speaking in every language at once. Phase 3. Low-frequency waves to simulate divine voices directly inside people's minds. And Phase 4. A staged alien invasion to usher in a new world government. He named names, cited sources, and published warnings. He believed this operation would be deployed to dismantle all resistance to a centralized global regime. But shortly after releasing his findings, Monas died suddenly of a heart attack. He was healthy, active, under no known medical threat. And he wasn't the only one. 2 other journalists investigating similar claims also died of sudden heart attacks within weeks of each other. No foul play was officially declared. No connections were officially made. But something felt off. Monas's archives vanished without a trace. His original documents were scrubbed from libraries and servers. His family was reportedly silenced. Those who continued to share his theory online found themselves demonetized, deplatformed, or even arrested. Why such an aggressive effort to erase what could easily be dismissed as fiction? Unless, of course, the fiction was far too close to fact. Monas had described the architecture of a silent coup, a world rebuilt from the ashes of forgotten truths. Today, remnants of Project Blue Beam still circulate in digital shadows. Scanned documents, translated interviews, scattered forum threads. Most dismiss them as outdated fearmongering. But hidden within those fragmented records are descriptions of technologies that didn't exist at the time, but do now. Holographic projection? Brainwave manipulation via LF frequencies? Documented. Coordinated space-based communication systems? Operational. Was Monas a paranoid fantasist? Or a prophet silenced before his time? His warnings were not vague. They were surgical. And if even part of them is true, then we're not just being deceived, we're being prepared. The question that remains is chilling. If Monas was right, when would such a plan begin? According to his notes, the timeline was fluid, dependent on mass compliance and technological maturity. It wouldn't begin with war or collapse. It would begin with a wonder, spectacle, when the skies light up and gods return to earth, not as saviors, but as illusions. His final message warned that the greatest threat to humanity would not be aliens, nor demons, but belief in something that was never real. A god made of code and projection. A savior born from the shadows of a satellite. And now, nearly 30 years later, we face a new wave of signs, strange lights in the sky, religious doubt on the rise, global crises converging. But above all, technology creeping into the core of our consciousness. And this brings us to the next phase in Monas's prophecy, the one we were never meant to witness. A machine of illusion operating on a planetary scale. The first phase of the Project Blue Beam plan involves the orchestration of artificial earthquakes at carefully chosen locations around the world. These seismic disturbances are designed not just to shake the Earth but to discover fabricated artifacts that discredit major world religions. Imagine relics appearing that prove Jesus was a myth or that ancient gods were actually extraterrestrials. The spiritual foundations that have guided humanity for millennia would be shattered, plunging societies into chaos and spiritual confusion. This manufactured chaos paves the way for the next phase of deception, one where reality itself is manipulated on a global scale. Following the earthquakes, colossal holograms are projected into the skies, visible to millions across multiple continents. These images depict divine figures from various religions speaking simultaneously in every language, merging into a single, all-encompassing entity. This new Messiah is far from divine. Rumors whisper that it is a carefully crafted digital specter, the Antichrist in disguise. The purpose is clear: to unite the fractured spiritual landscape under one false deity, effectively erasing centuries of belief systems and identities. The world would be forced to worship this synthetic god or face exclusion and suspicion. While modern science rejects the feasibility of such a vast holographic display, technologies developed in secret tell a different story. Advances in electromagnetic projection, laser technology, and atmospheric manipulation have already shown the potential for breathtaking illusions. The idea of fracturing the Earth through artificial means is no longer science fiction. Fracking and induced seismicity have proven that human activity can trigger earthquakes. If these capabilities are weaponized, the boundaries between natural disaster and engineered event blur, creating a perfect cover for deception. The illusions don't stop at visuals. Sophisticated audio systems embedded in satellites and ground-based transmitters can beam voices directly into people's minds. These voices claim divine authority, spreading messages that confuse and manipulate. This mental invasion erodes trust in personal perception and external reality alike. People begin to question their own sanity as they hear messages that only they can perceive. This phase of the plan weaponizes perception itself, turning minds into battlegrounds where truth is buried under layers of programmed suggestions. The consequences of this grand illusion are staggering. Religious leaders lose credibility, spiritual traditions crumble, and the masses are left disoriented and vulnerable. The engineered spiritual crisis creates fertile ground for the imposition of a new global religion, one that aligns with the hidden agenda of the ruling elite. This manufactured faith is less about worship and more about control, binding humanity with invisible chains of belief that serve the architects of the New World Order. The question remains, how many will see through the veil before it's too late? Though the official narrative denies the existence of such technologies and dismisses conspiracy theories as paranoia, the evidence quietly accumulates. Reports of strange aerial phenomena, unexplained seismic events, and sudden shifts in public belief hint at something far beyond coincidence. The machine of illusion operates in the shadows, blending science, myth, and deception into a seamless nightmare. The world watches, largely unaware, as the stage is set for a transformation that will redefine reality itself. Will we awaken from this dream or remain forever entranced? The third phase of the plan unfolds in silence and shadows, where the enemy becomes invisible yet ever-present. It is not the earth that shakes now, but the very fabric of the human mind that trembles under an unseen force. Electromagnetic frequencies penetrate deep into the brain, bypassing all defenses, implanting thoughts, fears, and commands as if they were one's own. This manipulation is so subtle, so intimate, that victims cannot distinguish their own voice from the one imposed upon them. What if the thoughts you consider original are nothing but carefully crafted illusions fed directly into your consciousness? Military research has long explored the effects of electromagnetic waves on human behavior. Experiments reveal that certain frequencies can induce anxiety, confusion, and auditory hallucinations. The invisible broadcast infiltrates daily life, turning minds into battlegrounds where free will is no longer guaranteed. In a world where supercomputers analyze every action and decision, messages become tailor-made for maximum psychological impact. The once unshakable boundary between reality and illusion begins to blur, leaving individuals vulnerable to silent domination. Imagine hearing a voice inside your mind, whispering guidance, commands, or warnings. It could sound familiar, comforting, or divine. This internal dialogue, however, may be the product of an advanced technology designed to control beliefs and actions without physical restraint. The implications are chilling, a reality where thoughts, prayers, and fears are no longer private but monitored and manipulated. The mind becomes a puppet theater, with strings pulled by unseen forces who control not just actions but intentions and dreams. This phase transcends mere propaganda or external coercion. It is an invasion at the neurological level. The difference between genuine insight and implanted suggestion vanishes as technology targets the very essence of human identity. In such a regime, dissent is not only silenced by force but eradicated within the subconscious. The phrase freedom of thought loses all meaning as minds become prisons locked from the inside. This hidden warfare shapes the collective consciousness, aligning it with a dark agenda far beyond any public awareness. Despite the alarming nature of these claims, the technology is not pure speculation. Declassified military documents and whistleblower testimonies confirm the existence of mind-influencing devices. These systems are purportedly designed for psychological operations, yet their potential for abuse is staggering. If frequencies can trigger mental disturbances or force compliance, what stops those in power from using them to reshape entire populations? The line between defense and control becomes dangerously thin, perhaps already crossed. The invisible voices represent the ultimate form of manipulation, a control so complete that resistance feels impossible and rebellion begins within. As you listen, question the origin of your thoughts and feelings. Are they truly yours, or the echoes of a hidden puppeteer? The next stage in this terrifying saga reveals the role of media and deception in reinforcing these mental chains. The grand spectacle continues, but now the battle for reality is fought in silence, within the deepest recesses of the mind. The machinery of control is incomplete without its loyal enforcers, the media. Once heralded as the guardians of truth, mainstream outlets now weave intricate webs of misinformation, serving as the puppeteer's mouthpiece. Their narratives shape reality, masking sinister agendas beneath a veil of credibility. Wars are justified, enemies fabricated, and distractions unleashed, all meticulously choreographed to keep the masses compliant. But what if the stories we consume are nothing more than staged acts in a grand performance of manipulation? History has proven the willingness of governments to sacrifice their own people to achieve political aims. Operations like Gladio and incidents such as the Gulf of Tonkin reveal a chilling pattern of false flag attacks engineered to ignite conflicts. Today, this tactic has evolved but remains as deadly and deceptive as ever. The flood of official UFO reports, alien threats, and space-age mysteries are not random disclosures. They are carefully timed distractions, legitimized by military agencies to control public perception and justify extraordinary measures. Whistleblowers have risen from the shadows, offering glimpses behind the curtain. Figures like David Grush bring shocking revelations about secret government programs and extraterrestrial cover-ups. Yet, these disclosures come wrapped in official sanction, vetted to maintain plausible deniability while feeding the controlled narrative. This careful balancing act raises the question: are these insiders genuine truth-tellers or pawns in a larger deception designed to deepen public confusion and mistrust? The media's role extends beyond mere dissemination. It is an active participant in constructing a reality that benefits the hidden elite. Sensational headlines, selective leaks, and staged controversies create a smokescreen that obscures the truth. Alternative voices are drowned out or discredited, while the population remains ensnared in a web of half-truths and contradictions. In this arena, knowledge becomes a weapon wielded by those who control the flow of information, turning the search for truth into a perilous journey. False flags and media manipulation form the backbone of a system designed to disorient and divide. They create crises where none exist and inflate threats to justify sweeping controls. This manufactured chaos conditions the public to accept restrictions on freedom in exchange for security. As reality fragments under these assaults, trust erodes, and skepticism turns to paranoia. But within this chaos lies a darker truth. The entire spectacle is a carefully orchestrated play, rehearsed and executed by shadowy architects. The next chapter exposes the blueprint behind this grand deception, the globalist agenda. Behind the headlines and staged events lies a calculated plan to reshape the world order, erasing boundaries and freedoms under the guise of progress. As the media spins its tales and false flags explode, the true puppet masters advance their designs unchecked. The question remains, will we see through the illusion before it's too late? For decades, powerful organizations like the World Economic Forum, the Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderberg Group have operated behind the scenes, crafting a plan far beyond what most imagine. These groups, composed of political, financial, and corporate elites, promote total integration between governments, corporations, and cultures. The promise is of a unified world, where borders vanish and decisions are centralized, far from public control. This project is sold as progress and inevitability, but its true intentions remain shrouded in mystery and absolute control. The slogan, "You will own nothing and be happy," has become a dark symbol of this emerging new order. Individual freedom is exchanged for artificial convenience, and cultural diversity gives way to imposed uniformity. Individuality is replaced by forced belonging, a silent conformity. Sacred institutions such as family, religion, nation, and even gender identity are systematically dismantled, paving the way for a population more easily manipulated, shaped according to the interests of the global elite. However, control is not exercised through open violence or force. The New World Order presents itself as natural progress, an inevitable evolution of humanity towards peace and cooperation. Alienation and conformity are promoted through technology, education, and the media. True power lies in the ability to shape beliefs and values, creating a manufactured consensus. The elite remain invisible, but every move and decision aims to consolidate their position, keeping their privileges intact while the rest adapt to the new reality. Within this globalist script, cultural manipulation is a key piece. The dismantling of traditional values serves a larger purpose: to weaken the foundations that sustain individual and collective resistance. The dissolution of identities strengthens a system aiming for total homogenization, a world where diversity is merely tolerated illusion. Every aspect of life is monitored and regulated, preparing the ground for a single government that recognizes no borders or differences, only absolute obedience. Meanwhile, the official rhetoric denies any conspiracy theory, labeling critics as conspiracy theorists and extremists. Censorship and information control intensify to keep the public under control. Stories questioning the globalist project are dismissed as false, and dissenting voices are silenced or discredited. Thus, the dominant narrative is carefully maintained, preventing the population from seeing beyond the utopian facade and understanding the gravity of what is unfolding. The question that remains is this: are we truly heading towards an inevitable future of progress and unity, or are we pawns in a dark game where freedom is the currency being traded? The line between reality and fiction becomes thin when cultural manipulation reaches such depths. And you, are you ready to see the globalist script behind the curtains? The future is written, but there are still those who doubt and resist. The choice is yours. The final stage of manipulation is not fought in secret laboratories, but in plain sight, through the screens that dominate our lives. Movies, TV shows, comics, and music have become weapons in the invisible war for the soul of humanity. They propagate the ideals of the New World Order subtly, embedding ideas that erode traditions, rewrite history, and reshape values. What was once entertainment is now a sophisticated tool of cultural programming. This shift from overt control to psychological influence makes resistance nearly invisible and insidious. The very stories we consume shape our perception of reality and morality. Consider iconic series like Star Trek, created by Gene Roddenberry, which eerily predicted the fusion of gods through holograms, an idea identical to the Project Blue Beam narrative. Blockbusters repeat dark slogans like "Kill the past," encouraging audiences to reject heritage and embrace a manufactured future. The lines between fiction and propaganda blur, as stories of chaos, unity, and a new messiah become normalized, conditioning generations to accept radical change. The repetition of these themes primes society for acceptance of a reality controlled by unseen forces. What once was taboo becomes mainstream ideology. Children and young adults grow up idolizing chaos, rebellion, and ideologies prefabricated by unseen hands. Traditional institutions like family, faith, and nation are ridiculed or erased, replaced by narratives that promote collective identity over individuality. This cultural assault breaks down resistance by creating a new normal, where dissent is social exile and conformity is rewarded. The battlefield is no longer physical, it is psychological. Minds are reshaped not through force, but through entertainment and cultural saturation. The loss of historical memory deepens this control. The media conglomerates and entertainment giants collaborate, consciously or not, in this grand design. Popular culture becomes a stage where conflicting ideologies are portrayed not to foster debate but to confuse and divide. Meanwhile, subtle messages implant obedience and resignation, teaching audiences to surrender to the greater good defined by an elite few. Every image, every lyric, every plot twist serves a hidden agenda. Behind the scenes, powerful entities pull strings, molding public consciousness with precision. This covert manipulation is almost impossible to detect. This invisible war shapes perceptions, fears, and hopes without the public realizing they are being manipulated. It engineers desires and beliefs, making rebellion seem futile and cooperation inevitable. The most dangerous part is its subtlety. It feels natural, even liberating, while systematically dismantling the pillars of independent thought. What seems like progress might be the final act of cultural subjugation. It is a slow, relentless erosion of free will disguised as evolution. Every cultural product is a piece of the larger puzzle. So ask yourself, is our culture evolving, or is it being engineered for control? Are these stories just entertainment, or the rehearsals of a reality we are being forced to accept? The curtain is rising on a theater of shadows, and every viewer becomes a player in a script written long ago. The future may already be scripted, and it's darker than you think. The question remains, will we recognize the play before it's too late, or will we remain puppets dancing to an unseen master's tune? The world we knew, with its colors, stories, and identities, has been replaced by a cold, uniform landscape where freedom is nothing more than a forgotten word. Erased memories, controlled lives, and a truth buried so deep that few even dare to imagine its existence. The event was no accident, but a carefully orchestrated project to reprogram humanity, erasing its past to shape its future. But is the reality we accept really the only possible one? Or is it all part of a greater game, an illusion built to keep the masses under absolute control? If the past was erased, what secrets were hidden? And who lurks in the shadows, watching every thought, every breath? The answer might be closer than you think, waiting to be awakened. Now, the question remains, are you willing to remember? Or do you prefer to live in the safety of a lie? Leave a comment if you believe this is just another theory, or if you already realize we are being manipulated on a level few dare to admit. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any mystery. Activate the notification bell to dive even deeper into the shadows of truth. After all, in this post-event world, questioning is the first act of rebellion.